I really like Ninjago Rebooted, but it seems I am the only one because from what I've heard, no one likes it. So today, I'm going to change your mind. That is if you currently don't like Rebooted, but if you do like Rebooted, then I hopefully won't be changing your mind. So anyway, let's start off with what I think make people hate this season the most, the love triangle. Let me just give you my whole opinion on it. I didn't mind it. Yes, I know that is a very controversial opinion, but I was only like 7 years old when I saw it for the first time, so I probably didn't even fully understand what it was. But when I was old enough to understand, I just already knew that it was going to come up, so I guess I didn't really care. And yes, I will say that I didn't think that this season needed a love triangle, but then again, if it wasn't for that, then all of the ninja except Lloyd and Zane would have had like nothing going on in this season. At least the love triangle has that going for it, I guess. But I will say, Nia liking Cole came out of nowhere. From seasons 1 to 2, I bet you can't even find one scene where Cole is alone with Nia. But now, just because of some stupid, perfect match machine, Nia starts to like Cole, and then out of nowhere, Cole starts to like Nia back. And I just have to say that it is just so out of character for Cole to go behind Jay's back like this. Also, throughout this season, we don't really get any decent scenes that come out of this love triangle. Apart from this scene where Jay and Cole are about to get squished to death, and Nia has to pick between a black and a blue wire to save them. Anyway, in this scene, Jay had just learned about Cole and Nia, and they had a fight. Then they fought some more while being stuck in this thing, but as they got closer and closer together, they started to make up, but as soon as they were released, they fought again. So it literally just went nowhere. But you have to admit, this scene from season 4 was very good. But anyway, back to Rebooted. Jay and Cole in this season just feel so weird in general. They can go from fighting and hating each other to being chill with each other in a matter of seconds. So my final verdict on this entire love triangle is that even though I didn't mind it, I would have preferred the season without it, since it was just very weird. And I do wonder why the writers even thought to include it in the first place. So let's go from one negative to a positive, that being pick Zane. So if I had to choose Pixel and Zane or Jay and Nia, I am picking Pixel and Zane every day of the week. Even though I do prefer Jay and Nia as characters, I like Pixel and Zane more as a couple because throughout the series, I just feel that Pixel and Zane feel more like a couple. In the 11-minute era, Jay and Nia never really felt like they were a couple until Seabound. And after their relationship truly formed to Skybound, we didn't really see anything to show that they were together until March of the Oni. But this is all besides the point. It could be its own separate video in itself. So yeah, obviously this season was where Pixel first appeared in, where in the beginning she was just a robotic robot until Zane gave up half of his power source to bring back Pixel after the blackout, which then made that Zane couldn't fight on his own and he needed Pixel by his side to help him. But we only get to see this in one episode. I have no idea how later in the season Zane is capable of doing everything by himself again. So anyway, I really liked their connection throughout this season, and especially after Zane's sacrifice at the end. Pixel is very obviously heartbroken, and in the final scene, she is so happy because she can hear Zane's voice again. Next, let's talk about another couple, but this time it is a couple of brothers. So obviously in this season, Garmadon is no longer Lord Garmadon, but Sensei Garmadon. And this might be a hot take, but I prefer Sensei Garmadon over Sensei Wu. Also, for a large chunk of this season, Wu is evil and turned into Tech Wu, which I think is such a cool concept, seeing as they were on opposite sides in Season 2, and now in Season 3, they are still on opposite sides, but just reversed. So let's start off with Sensei Garmadon because there's just a lot more to talk about with him. So at the start, Garmadon has his own dojo in the middle of nowhere, and one I add, where he teaches the students to fight without fighting, or in other words, the art of the silent fist, because he has given up fighting. And the ninja went to this dojo as a way to hide from the ninjoids, but they ended up finding them anyway, so Garmadon goes off with Lloyd since the ninjoids want Lloyd for his golden power. And I think this was perfect because we got glimpses of Lloyd and Garmadon in seasons before, but they were always about them having to face off against each other in the final battle. But now they are both on the same side and can actually be a father and son. And this dynamic is great. A highlight is when they were walking across the mountain and Garmadon is trying to teach Lloyd to unlock the true potential of his golden powers by moving mountains. But anyway, Lloyd is disregarding what his dad is saying, because why does he need to move mountains when he can make a golden dragon, which is a fair point. But in the end, Lloyd realizes that these powers could actually be really helpful when his dad falls off the cliff, and he saves him by making a giant Lego hand out of rocks. And I just have to say, how cool is that, by the way? Anyway, for the rest of the season, Garmadon is left without Lloyd because he was kidnapped and then he went off to space for a bit. And stay tuned because we'll get onto that a bit later. And when Garmadon is without Lloyd, I wouldn't say he is bad, but I would say that he isn't as good. But now onto Evil / Tech Woo. Firstly, I want to talk about his design. It is kind of weird that he has sort of like Zane's damaged face design, but I think it is pretty cool, especially with the red eye. I also love his black beard, but it is a shame his legs were plain, but so is basically every other Rebooted minifigure as well. So now going back to the show, I did find it odd how Pythor somehow managed to turn Woo evil. I don't remember if they told us in the show, but regardless, it was kind of weird. Now I want to talk about Lloyd this season. So, for majority of the runtime, Lloyd is away from the ninja and instead with Garmadon, because he is basically hiding away from the ninjoids and the Overlord because he wants to get Lloyd's golden powers. And for about half of the season, they succeeded in evading the ninjoids, but in Hiroshi's labyrinth, Pythor took Lloyd and imprisoned him in the ninjoid mech dragon. There, he was forced to give up most of his powers until he managed to escape. Then, this must have made Lloyd realize that it was too dangerous to have these powers, because he gave up the rest of his golden powers and gave them to the ninja, which I've always thought was odd because every other elemental master never needed someone to give them to them. But anyway, it was still a pretty cool scene altogether. So now it is time for the main character, Zane. So throughout seasons 1 and 2, Zane didn't get much development after he was revealed to be a ninjoid, but this season fixed it and made Zane such a cool character. And most of this is down to Pixel, but I already talked about them two before, so there is really no point talking about it again. So other than Pixel and Zane, there isn't really too much to say other than his sacrifice, which did kind of come out of nowhere, considering if Zane wasn't the focus ninja for this season. So, since Zane never really said anything really about the Overlord, it really did come as a surprise. But anyway, leading up to his confrontation to the Overlord, he used the other ninjas and Woo and Garmadon as stepping stones to get to him, and I don't know, man, this scene just kind of made Zane look like a badass. Anyway, Zane grabs onto the Overlord's golden armor and he starts to, well, I don't really know what to call this, but anyway, shouldn't he have already been disintegrated by now, just like the other ninjoids did? Anyway, Zane starts to ice the Overlord, and then this banger of a track starts to play, and we all know now that something big is about to go down. And then when his flashbacks started to come up, we all knew that Zane was about to die, so we can all start crying now. Anyway, he exploded and defeated the Overlord, and yeah, it was a pretty cool but also sad scene. Also, I thought I would quickly mention the Overlord since he is kind of the main villain of the season. So I would say that the Overlord wasn't really better or worse than he was in Season 2, since in this season he was trapped in the Digiverse for the most part, and then he was whatever this thing was, and then he finally turned into the Golden Master in the last episode. So now I want to talk about some of the locations that the ninja went to. So that will be the Digiverse and space. Firstly, let's talk about the Digiverse, since that's where they went first. So the Digiverse was created by Cyrus Borg, so the ninja could get rid of the Overlord, and this was also pretty much Prime Empire before Prime Empire came out. And for the time it was really cool because we never got to see the ninja in a video game setting like this. So when they first got into the Digiverse, Kai was upset because he hated technology, and Jay was so happy because he loved technology. And another thing about the Digiverse is that if you imagine something, then it will just happen. For example, they imagined they had the vehicles, so then they just go down the building with the vehicles. And Jay said Kai was an airhead, and then Kai's head got blown up into a balloon and he floated down. But now, for the main reason that the ninja were in the Digiverse was because they wanted to take down the Overlord, and they had to do this by using their Techno Blades. And when they were trying to do this, they ran into a little complication, that being the Overlord himself, and to defeat him they all turned gold, which was extremely weird, but I thought it was also pretty cool to see them get gold variants like Lloyd. They also managed to use their Technoblades to hack into their system, but it didn't work because obviously the Overlord still managed to come back. But now onto space, which I know is very controversial amongst the community, because most fans felt that the ninja going to space basically came out of nowhere, which I can't really deny because it really did. But I'm not gonna lie that it was pretty cool. Start they're just chilling in here, but then they have to leave because Wu and his crew somehow managed to call the ninja and tell them that the part of the rocket they are in is getting detached. So since Zane is an android and can survive outside, he goes and gets the other ninja spacesuits. Then they fight the ninjoids on top of the rocket. Jay saves Cole. Then a little while later, Glowy eats the spacesuits and Zane's exoskeleton. And meanwhile, the ninjoids kill themselves by touching all 4 golden weapons. Anyway, the ninja chased the ninjoids in an epic chase back to the rocket ship, but the Glowies ate the ship for dinner, so it is destroyed, and they are stranded. Also, the ninjoids use their rocket boosts to go back to Ninjago with the golden weapons. Then the ninjas start to rebuild the rocket ship because Zane knows a lot about the solar system and Jay has watched the movies before. So obviously this was a bit weird, but I enjoyed it. And because of this episode, I don't think we'll ever get a space themed season, which would have been really cool. So that was a Rebooted review, and let me know your thoughts on this season. And check out another Ninjago season review in this playlist. See you later. Be Ninja.